We all got them. You know, the oxygen thieves that live next door? That's right. Today, we're going to be talking about asshole neighbors. Hello, my name is Arthur, and I am the founder and primary instructor for Tackleberry Solutions. We teach wartime tactics for everyday citizens for civil defense. And today, we're going to be talking about your asshole neighbor. We all got them. Even I have a few of them, although most of my neighbors are family, so I'm kind of fortunate in that regard. But we've all got neighbors that are living next door to us that are just complete raving assholes. What do we do about them? Especially, what do we do about them during an SHTF situation? How do we handle them? And what I'm going to tell you is my personal pet peeve and how I would deal with them. This is not necessarily military doctrine, because military doesn't really deal with asshole neighbors, so to speak. We might deal with asshole neighbor countries, and we just kind of walk in and wipe them out, and that's the end of it. But let me explain to you a couple different things that you can do to kind of help you with that. But first, let's talk about two other points. One, let's identify the actual asshole neighbor that you're going to really need to be able to keep your eyes on. And secondly, let's actually identify what your community really is. So when you're talking about your community, your survival community, it doesn't necessarily mean the guy directly to your left or right. When I'm talking about working within your neighborhood, yeah, I mean, we would like to think, and it would be great if that was everybody living in down your street. But sometimes, and especially today, in real life, that's not necessarily the case. Furthermore, most people are so freaking reactive that it hurts. That means they're not gonna want to get out there in the hot blazing sun and out of that nice cool crisp air conditioning to get out there and do freaking 2 to 3 second bounding and overwatching or rushing. They're not gonna want to do that because it sucks. I'm sorry, but if you're not freaking sweating, hurting, or sore by the end of your training, you didn't do shit. Okay? So the point I'm making is most people are not gonna want to do that. Most people don't have the foresight to think, hey, you know what? A little sweating and pain now equals blood saved later. Most people aren't going to freaking realize that, especially those asshole neighbors. So the guys that are your actual community, the guys that you've already prearranged with, whether you met them on social media, you go to church with them, or whatever it is, those people, that's your freaking survival community. The guys that are like, yeah, no, when this event does happen, we're going to gather up, and this is where we're going to colonize, and we're going to lock this down. That's your survival community. But even if you're not at your actual home, whether your home is the actual compound y'all decide to go to or not, you're still going to run into the same problem, asshole neighbors. And they're going to fall into two different categories. One, the freaking civilians, the local populace. And secondly, the enemy. That's right, those guys that are your local neighbors might very well end up being your freaking enemy after an SHTF. Now let's talk about identifying them. If they're a criminal now, they're damn sure going to be a criminal later. They're just going to be that much more bold about it. Because if everything's haywire and all of your emergency services are down and tied up, what the hell's to stop them from looting, pillaging, plundering, raping, and whatever? I mean, have we not learned anything from all the natural disasters and you got idiots breaking into freaking television stores? Because that's going to work when there's no power for some reason. Secondly, those guys that are just an absolute freaking waste of space. Oh, nothing of that's ever gonna happen. You're just paranoid. Nah, whatever. Because those are the same exact people, especially if they're relying on the government, they're gonna turn right around to a government agent and go, yeah, if you'll give me freaking food, I'll tell you all about that compound. Hell yeah, I'll tell you all about my neighbor. Because they trust the government more than they do their own independence and their own freedoms and liberties. All right, the third kind of individual that's just going to be a total freaking problem for you is those guys that are freaking entitled. So I didn't put this in the article, but those guys that have that sense of entitlement they're just going to trespass on your land. They're going to come across like they own it. And when you're like, hey, asshole, what are you doing on my land? What, your land? Yeah, numbnuts, I'm the one that pays taxes on it, it's mine. Now let's talk about the aftermath of this. And if you identify these guys, you might want to take a mental note of where they are. And me personally, during what I consider a wartime situation, a SHTF situation, you might want to give strong consideration to a first strike. It might actually save you a lot of heartache in the long run. Well, let's look at the aftermath. Or even before the aftermath, let's look at how we can slow this down. Fencing. I'm a big advocate of fencing. If you can electrify that barbed wire fences, that mo better. Because when they grab that son of a gun, or it catches on that freaking coat or that pants leg, and it starts going pop, 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 yes, now not only do you know they're crossing through your wire, but you know exactly where they're crossing through, because you can hear the screams of the little bitch across the freaking woods. Ditches are amazing because they stop vehicles, even armored vehicles. You get a big enough freaking ditch in there, even somebody on a Abrams tank is going to walk up and be like, yeah, no, we're not crossing that, brother. We're going to get freaking stuck and crap in that. Nope, not happening. We're going to have to go across that bridge over there. Well, guess what? That bridge is a choke point. That's a beautiful ambush point because they have no choice but to go across it. And as they're going across it, boom! Watch them fall right down into the freaking ditch, and they're totally screwed. Not only did you screw them, but everybody else trying to cross over is now going to have to do so on foot. Get through the ditch only to hit an electric fence. Now, what's 2 steps on the other side of that electric fence? Claymores. We're pushing a little bit more into the actual wartime. But you put some freaking claymores or some landmines in between 2 freaking fences. So, I have a nice freaking field fence on the inner side of the perimeter, right? Field fence is kind of, you got to climb over it or cut it, one of the 2. And that's good because it keeps my dogs from accidentally activating. Dogs have a hard time going through it. So they're not going to accidentally activate one of my landmines that I have placed there or one of my claymores. But in between there and that electrified barbed wire fence is a series of either claymores or landmines. This is a defensive perimeter. So these a-holes are just absolutely intent upon assaulting my compound. Yeah, let them try. And that asshole neighbor decides that I know where his freaking cellar is or his garden is, and I'm just going to help myself to it. Yeah, he's not going to make it very far because as he's tiptoeing through the 2 fences, pop! That's all she wrote. You'll find what's left of him in the morning. Chances are very good you're going to hear it, and that tells you or your guards that, hey, contact that direction. We need to go over there and flex on it. Where's QRF? Understand that these people have had their entire world come crumbling down on top of them. You know, what they thought was they thought that everything was going to keep on trucking on and everything's good, and all of a sudden the freaking lights went out and now the freaking grocery store's empty and all freaking mayhem and craziness is going on inside the cities or wherever it is. And they're looking at you going, but this guy's sitting pretty. Just because you're a hard target doesn't mean you can't use those people. And I do mean use them. So, hey, you know, all my guys are tied up doing guards, working as QRF, or I'm actually sending direct action guys out to gather intelligence and do other missions. So we need people to freaking weed the garden. You hungry? Great. You can come into my home, into our compound, and you can weed the garden, and only the garden. And if you leave the garden, you're done. So you go to the garden, you weed the garden, we'll give you your pay at the end of the day, which will be some food, and you get the hell out of my compound. Under certain very strict rules, will you allow these people in, if you so choose. But like I have also pointed out, these are the very first damn people that are going to be trying to steal your ass blind. And if they do, a bullet to the face is a hell of a lot easier than putting them in a jailhouse, if you even have a jailhouse, and then having a guard put on them, and then you got to feed them and clothe them and freaking give them water and just, screw all that crap. It's much easier just to freaking double tap them and be done with it. Little things like this are things you need to already be thinking about, especially if you're the community commander. You need to already have these things planned out. But if you got asshole neighbors in your area, a fence will go a long way, no trespassing signs will go a long way, freaking ditches will work great, and roaming dogs, I cannot tell you the number of times that my dang stupid mutts have kept somebody at bay. I already, just off the top of my head, can think of 4 different times I've had somebody attempt to get into my truck, my farm truck here, to steal tools, and they didn't even make it out of their own damn vehicle before those dogs were on top of them. And guess what followed very quickly behind? A freaking round of bird shot. Because nothing says don't come back like some peppering bird shot across the ass end of a vehicle. All right, thank you very much for watching. Y'all have a great day.